All right, ready. Don't do that either. Get it all out of your system. All right, ready. All right, let's do this. And in 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RGVSports.com podcast. I'm your host. My name is John LaFollette, and I cover high school sports for the Modern newspaper in McAllen, Texas, and for RGVSports.com for the world at large. And sitting next to me, as he usually does on these recap shows, is Greg. Luca, say hello.
Hey,
how you doing?
What's up?
Doing good. Happy to be here.
I said what's up, not how are you doing?
What's up? The ceiling is up.
Okay, good call.
Past the ceiling, you got some metal rafters. Past that, you got some cement, probably.
It is indeed a building.
And after the cement, you got
Do you think
you got nitrogen and oxygen and carbon dioxide,
space and the sun,
all other kind of elements that make up our atmosphere on this lovely little planet we call Earth. So that answers your question.
Good science lesson for the people.
Yeah. What? Here's a trivia question. Let's see how much you know about science, Mr. Greg. What is the most abundant gas in Earth's atmosphere? It's nitrogen.
Damn it, I was going to say that.
That's why the sky is blue, because when the UV rays interact with the nitrogen in our atmosphere, the sun makes our sky blue.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to say the wrong thing.
You should know it, but you may not know. Well, see, it's okay. You may not know the elements that comprise the Earth's atmosphere, but
I sent the transition.
But you do know a thing or two about McAllen Memorial football.
Indeed, here we go.
I think we got plenty of games to get to here, but I think in terms of storyline, this is the biggest one that we had coming in. This is the story all year long for McAllen Memorial. Yeah, they're going to cruise through the regular season, but what are they going to do once the playoffs roll around? Tell everyone what happened. What happened to the Trevor Spate show out there?
Well, it was terrifying for them, I think. they fell behind. They fell behind 21-7 in this game, and that was with 10:19 to play in the second quarter. They fell behind by 2 touchdowns against a team that was 6-4 coming in, a team that they were supposed to beat, a team that, for the number 1 team in the Valley, and a team that has aspirations of going 3rd or 4th round. You would think that they would have had a pretty easy time in this game. And it turned out that they were pushed really to their limits in this one. And in the end, you saw that Laredo United even managed to outgain them for the game. It was just a matter of, in the second half, Trevor Spates got some things going, as he usually does. Scored a 41-yard touchdown in the third quarter, and then a 71-yard touchdown with 7:46 left in the fourth. That gave them the lead and ultimately the win. So he had the vast majority of their offense, and he finished with 162 yards, and that should be 262, and 3 touchdowns. So quite the game. So
262 yards and 3 touchdowns.
So quite the game for him. Really impressive performance, and
those individual stats put him in the record books, do they not?
Yes. Well, he has now the touchdown record for the career, which is 115, and he has a single season total of 49, which is the Valley single season record. And also in this game, he played some defense, and he broke up a pass on a fake field goal attempt on 4th down in a really critical spot. And then just at the end of the game, after Memorial stalled the last time, he had a 63-yard punt down to the 1-yard line. So every week, like I said before, is every time I think I've just seen it and it's going to be like a ho-hum 250-yard game, I'll do something extra to spice it up a little bit. And today this time it was a punt.
Yeah, I know you just said that they were favored to win by a more significant margin than what they did, but nonetheless, a win's a win. What was the mood on the sideline, given all the struggles in the postseason the last couple of years for this team? What was that team like when you were down there on the field post-game?
They were incredibly happy. I mean, the final play of the game ended up being an interception, so it was really easy for them to spark this kind of celebration. And they just they kind of stormed the field and gathered around Sam and Elsa, the linebacker, who came down with it. And they were taking pictures with the trophy for 20 minutes, the by-district trophy. But as much as they were really excited just to get this win, and what struck me was that for Trevor Spates, he was you could tell he was emotional. He struggled to really put it into perspective what the win meant for him and all that, just because he'd been trying for 4 years to get this and hadn't been able to do it. So what I was saying was they celebrated and they had the by-district trophy and they were happy about that, but when they did their little huddle at the end and they broke on December football, because the goal for them is still to get to the 4th round, which is what that would be. And they think that they have the team to do it, and we'll see what happens. But next up is Harlingen. I don't know if we want to get into that or save it for the preview show.
No, we'll save that for the preview show next week. But I think that is, as far as we know, as far as to my recollection right now, that's the only Valley-on-Valley playoff game next week, is it not?
I think
Other than that, it's all on-Valley teams. So this is probably the only one that's close to home next week. A lot of people are going to be there. That game is at Bogus Field in Harlingen. That's on Friday.
That's it, Friday at 7:30.
7:30. We'll get more into that next week, obviously. But props to Trevor Spates and everyone there at McAllen Memorial. Know how much the win means. In terms of you, I know that you were there at this game, obviously. Like you said, Laredo United South gets out to a 21-7 lead. When did things really start to click? What was the catalyst there? Was it, again, I know Trevor Spates did a lot for him. Was it just Trevor Spates becoming Trevor Spates again, or what was just the catalyst that kind of saved their season here?
I think that was the big thing on offense. Really, what they had to adjust to was a team that could match them for physicality on the line of scrimmage, because even coming into this game, they said that this team was bigger and stronger than pretty much every team that they would face in district play. And so that was just something that they had to get used to, and they weren't used to being behind or to playing a close game. They've had 2 games this year against Cherryland and against San Vito where it was close at halftime. But really, they have not played a game that was close down the stretch. Before this, their smallest margin of victory was 19 points. So they really had to get into these scenarios that they hadn't been in before and really, see what that was like and kind of push through it. And I think that it was just a matter of maybe they wore them down a little bit on defense, but mostly just Trevor Spates eventually found an opening, cut back lane here or there. The 2 times that he scored in the second half were on toss plays. I think one was definitely where he cut it back and one where he just kind of got to the sideline. So eventually he's going to break a big play because that's what he does, and their defense has kind of stepped up. I mean, it's hard to say that they were having a bad game when one of the touchdowns came on the punt block, which is sort of out of the defense's hands. That's kind of just a fluky thing. And I think we saw Laredo United South really pull out all the stops here. They had a fake punt that they converted, I believe. They went for it on 4th down a couple times. They were just doing everything that they could to make this game close as the underdog, and a lot of that stuff came through for them and made it a closer game than it could have been. But they did play well enough to keep the game close. I was impressed with them as a team.
You are the 36A writer, so let's stay in 36A. You had another game that was today, i.e. Saturday.
Everything else is ugly, I'll tell you. It is not good.
I know that I remember seeing the final score on Twitter for this at one point. It was not the final score, but the score at one point was 49-0. What ultimately was the final score here?
It's 49-21. It gets to look a lot better than what it was.
Okay.
Laredo Alexander against McAllen High is the game we're talking about. This was Saturday afternoon. Laredo Alexander came out and just pummeled them on both sides of the ball. They were in the backfield on every play on defense, just all over the running game. And that's something that McAllen High's really relied on this year because the passing game just hasn't been there for him. And at one point, Josh McGowan had 18 carries for 0 yards. 0 yards for the kid who's averaging 180 per game or whatever coming in. So that's going to hurt. So, again, they stopped him in the backfield.
Hashtag advanced stats. 0 rushing yards on 18 carries is not good.
They stopped him in the backfield on like 7 of those, and then his longest run was like 5 yards. So that'll do that. And then on the other side of the ball, they were sort of a spread team, but they had a lot of draw plays, some misdirection with their running game, screen passes, things like that they really just took advantage of their athleticism and spread McAllen High out. Sort of like the same things I was saying when they played against Harlingen. This is being McAllen High, that they just couldn't match up with the athleticism and their ability to spread the ball around and find different openings. They just didn't have enough defenders on the field. They would have needed 13 or 14 guys. I think they could have matched up better that way. But as it was, they really had no shot, and Laredo Alexander scored on 7 of their first 8 possessions, and then they sort of let up.
I know that McGowan had something happen here.
Yes,
he set a record, did he not?
He ends his Mac High season, the only season he's played there, as the school's single-season rushing leader with 1,892 yards. That sets the record that was previously held by Mike De La Fuente, who set it in 2002. And while we're talking about McGowan's records, he also has the record for rushing touchdowns with 23, total touchdowns with 27, and total points with 166. So he had a great year. He really, really, really did well for them. And
props to him.
But unfortunately, their season ends, and as it does for everybody in this district except McAllen Memorial. We saw Juarez Lincoln lost, I want to say 66-16, something like that. It was a 50-point game. And La Jolla Palmview today lost, I'm going to forget the score, some 58-30. John's got it here for me.
Yep.
So I think both of those games were somehow not even that close, even though those are already wide margins. I think much like the McAllen High game, they came back into it late after falling way behind.
Right.
So we've talked a lot this year about how weak this district is, and I think this really proves it. I mean, the only win is a game that you would think they would win decisively, and they had to squeak it out, and then other than that, they lost by an average 35 points.
And as you said, so nonetheless, congrats to Juarez Lincoln.
It's still good for them to make
first time making the playoffs as a school. Palmview, they had some ups and downs. Props to them for getting nonetheless. Congrats on their season at Mac High. Not the way they wanted things to end, but congrats to them on the season they've had. McAllen Memorial, Harlingen. Playing Harlingen. That's going to be fun. We'll talk about that more next week. So, sounds like a pretty brief tour through 36.
There's not a lot to cover. What do you want to do now?
You want to ask me? We'll talk to Mario. What do you want to do?
Well, we're already sitting here, so why don't you talk to me about how your teams did this week? We can smoothly transition this. We can touch quickly on Harlingen. Seems like they had an easy time against the Economides. What do you know about that game?
All I know is I just know the final score. I haven't had a chance to talk to Coach Gabe Pena there at Econ, but 60-7 kind of worked out the way we thought it would. Harlingen, just one of the better teams in the Valley. Econ, just a team that I don't want to say just happy to be there, but hey, the team that is not necessarily quite to where Harlingen is right now. So, and then also PSG North lost to San Benito 35-7. Both those games went about the way we thought they would. I had 2 games this week. I've been to Weslaco 3 times in 3 days, so I pretty much know that city like the back of my hand now. I went there 2 days in a row for boys football playoffs, and then girls basketball tournament championship game. Props to Weslaco High Lady Panthers winning their Weslaco tournament. It's the 4th time in 4 years.
Word.
So beating Sherilyn High. Anyways, let's start with the Thursday game. We'll just go chronologically here. It was Weslaco East versus Brownsville Veterans Memorial. Weslaco East pulls out the 1-point win, 21-20. It looked like this was going to be a runaway game for Weslaco East. They were up 14-0. Shut out Brownsville Vets in the first half, which is really impressive because Brownsville Vets was known as one of the more high-powered offenses in the Valley. Averaged around 400 yards a game, close to 35, 40 points, somewhere in that ballpark. Weslaco East shut them out. Did a really good job of limiting their running game and their passing game. And Emilio Tamez, the Weslaco East running back, he had all 3 of their touchdowns, picked up some really tough yards for them. But this whole game, it all hinged on one play. Brownsville Vets, like I said, shut out in the first half. But in the second half, they score all 20 of their points. Marcus Castillo scores a touchdown, 12 seconds left. It's 20-21 Brownsville Vets. In Weslaco East.
Right.
David Cantu, coach for the Chargers, calls a timeout. He immediately didn't. I saw him after they scored the touchdown. He was waving the peace sign for calling for 2. He had no intention of trying to tie that game. And after the game, I asked him about trying to go for 2. He's like, hey, we came here to win. We were in a position we thought we could win, so we were going for it. And to put things in perspective, if you want to think that was a gamble, Brownsville Vets went 99 yards in 2 minutes. And so they were moving the ball pretty well.
Right.
They had some momentum. It wasn't like they went 50 yards to score. They were moving the ball very quickly here to set up that last touchdown. But ball's on the 2-yard line. Marcus Castillo's under center in shotgun. He kind of wanders off. The play is on our RGVSports.com YouTube account. #shameless plug if you want to watch it. But it's a really kind of a neat play design. It almost worked for him. Castillo kind of just saunters off like he's going to line up like a tight end. And then he kind of if you ever watch basketball, you see a guy set a pick. He kind of stands in that motion, not even facing the line of scrimmage. He's facing down down towards the sideline.
Okay.
And he mainly is a decoy. So the ball is hiked, and then it's like a double reverse. You got 2 running backs there. They do a double reverse play, and then Castillo after a while just standing there, he sprints to the end zone, and he's pretty much wide open for a second. But then Cito Rojas recognizes the play, sees Castillo open, and Castillo catches the ball on the 1-yard line. But just as it hits his hand, Cito Rojas punches it and knocks it to the ground, and that saves Weslaco East season.
Okay, I got a lot of things to say about this. First of all, you just drove 99 yards in how long?
Like 2 minutes.
And you're going to take the ball out of the quarterback's hands, who's your best player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the first dumb thing. The second, do you know who has the better kicker? Did either team have to kick field goals in this game?
No. But I know that Weslaco East kicker is very, very good.
I can't think of a reason why in a game where you outgained them 391 to 287 that you wouldn't want it to go to overtime if you're Brownsville Vets. I think you would probably be willing to do that. You've outscored them 20-7 in the second half, so you got something clicking for you. And so what you do is you dial up the weirdest trick play ever with your entire season on the line.
Well, hey, to be fair, it almost worked.
It sounds like this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's kind of like saying he took a 30-foot shot and it's like, it almost went in.
Right. Like, what? Why?
I asked Coach about it. He said he had no regrets about the decision.
He should have a few.
Like he said, he was there.
You could think of something.
He said he was there to win the game and not go into overtime, which you can still win the game in overtime. But I got to commend for having the guts to make that kind of call.
I guess if it works, he looks like a genius. But man, that's not what I would do.
Hey, if you want to see the video, I know it's a weird kind of tricky way of explaining that play, but if you want to see the video, it's on our YouTube account, RGV Sports. Search us; it's right there. Watch it. Tell us what you think.
I'm gonna go comment.
Leave comments. Tell us what you think. But yeah, props to Cedar Rojas for making a stop. And I talked to Coach Berger after the game for Weslaco East, and he said, Cedar Rojas has been tremendous for Weslaco East all year long on offense and defense. He's done so many things. You plug him in at almost any position, and he succeeds at it. He's just a tremendous athlete, and he had a season-saving stop. And I think Coach Berger said, if he's not one of the best athletes in the Valley, I don't know who is. And I pretty much second that thought for him. So props to Weslaco East. They will play Del Rio. That game was Saturday at 2 p.m. in San Antonio at Alamo Stadium. So we'll talk about that more next week.
We got to move on before I say things that get me in trouble in Brownsville. Let's talk about Westlake High and Los Fresnos. Can we do that?
Yeah, this game, I'm an idiot for picking Weslaco to lose this. I can't believe I did this. I talked myself into it. I was like, man, this is such a tough matchup. And Weslaco dropped 7 touchdowns on them like it was nothing. Final score is 49-28 in favor of Weslaco. It looks like it's going to be a back-and-forth game. First quarter, there's 3 touchdowns. First, it's Los Fresnos. They go 50-some yards in 6 plays. Really quick. Really fast. Then Weslaco does what Weslaco always has. They respond with a 12-play, 6-minute, drive, 7-7. Los Fresnos answers again really quickly, 14-7. Again, it looks like it's going to be back and forth. And then in the second quarter, it's tied 14-14. There's that game-changing moment. Ethan DeLuna gets his first of 2 interceptions on Rene Ortega of Los Fresnos, who was heralded as the best quarterback in the Valley. And from that interception on, Weslaco went on to score 21 second-quarter points and put this game away. They never looked back, and that was the end of it.
Wow.
That was the end of it.
Against this team, Los Fresnos defense just gets shredded here.
They got shredded. Major Free ran all over them. Brian Guerra ran all over them. Jonathan Martinez was huge in the red zone for them. They could not stop the run at all.
Weslaco gets 2 interceptions, it looks like, in this game. So
they got 2.
They got a little bit.
They got 2 interceptions, both from Ethan DeLuna, who wasn't even supposed to start. He's a senior, but they have a sophomore that starts for them. He tweaked his groin during practice, so they gave Ethan the go. And he came up with 2 huge plays for him. And Jordan Nichols, who's made big plays all season long, recovered a fumble in this game as well.
Seems Los Fresnos moved the ball all right through the air, but I guess just those turnovers and Westlaco's run game.
A lot of those yards came when the lead was away, when the game was already out of hand.
Okay.
So they were playing comeback. Rene Ortega started out 5 of 5, 106 yards, and then from there, Weslaco defenders just started jamming receivers, not giving them any room, and he missed 6 or 7 of his next 10. Something like that. He went through a really big dry spell, and that Los Fresnos offense just stopped being productive, and meanwhile, Weslaco High just kept running. That was the end of that game. So
I don't want to backtrack, but we got some numbers here for Harlingen High just to shout some kids out. Jesse Castro threw for 4 touchdowns, and he ran for 46 yards as well. And then Leo Tienda ran for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. If this is right, on 4 carries, which would be impressive. So seems like the guys that they rely on all season played well for them, and then they probably got to sit out and enjoy most of the second half.
Yep. Yeah, it was 42-0 at halftime. So they put in their second.
Do you know anything about the San Benito game and PSG North and how that played out?
I don't know how it played out. I haven't had a chance to talk to Coach Payne there, but from what I recall, it seemed like San Benito got up from an early lead and never really relinquished it. So, both of these games played out pretty much the way we thought they would. So
okay, so this is my time to tag out then, right? We got to go 5A.
It's your time to tag out. Let's do 5A.
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario. Mario Aguirre, our 31 5A reporters.
Come out.
32 5A reporter Dennis Silva is not present, but it's all right because 31 5A played 32 5A, so we kind of cover both here.
Not only that, but they beat him.
Well,
3 for 4.
Where do you want to start? You want to start with the game you covered? Or
Yeah.
You want to start? All right, well, let's start with your game then. I called this as an upset. I picked Roma to win, but
We all did,
on the last, all of us picked Roma to win. But on the last episode we did, we had a question where it's pick an upset alert. I picked Ed Couch possibly beating Roma because you never know when this offense could kind of rediscover its potency. Looked like that's what happened. You were there. What was the catalyst for Ed Couch in this game? First of all, what was the score?
The score was 50-32. One of the bigger things that happened in the game was that Ed Couch also intercepted Roma first drive of the game, scored on a 70-yard return, and Roma got inside the 30 3 times in the first half, came away with 3 points. Afterward, just noticing that there was an 18-point margin, Coach Max Habecker for Roma was saying how, those if they would have came away with 21 points on those 3 drives, that would have made up the difference in those 18 points that they needed to tie the game. I'm not sure if it would have played out that way, only because you figured the game might have gone a little bit in Ed Couch's favor just because they were in control most of the time. So I figured as they would have seen Roma kind of trying to mount a comeback, I think they would have held on to that position. So I don't know if maybe if that would have played out the way that they're thinking. But Roma scored 22 points in the fourth quarter, outscored Ed Couch also 22-8, and so I think at that point maybe Ed Couch might have let their foot off the gas a little bit. Maybe that's what would have what happened.
I forgot to mention, I said Weslaco East plays Del Rio. Weslaco High will play Laredo Alexander. That's Friday, 7:30 in Corpus. So, back to this real quick. You mentioned Roma being able to move the ball pretty well, but just come away empty-handed. What were just some of the things that gave them fits as the field got shorter? Why was that offense unable to kind of be productive for them when they needed it to be?
Roma?
Yeah, for Roma.
Just Roma, I think Ed Couch also had second-best defense in the district. On my end, that's something that I overlooked. I didn't think Ed Couch was that stout, but they're up there with Roma in terms of yards allowed in the Valley among 6 and 5A teams. And not only that, like I think if you were to look at the halftime stats, Roma had more yards, but Ed Couch just had the shorter field most of the time. They had some big returns, and they didn't need very many plays to score at that point. So they got up early on Roma. And the big difference maker, too, was Tay Valdez, who came back from a high ankle sprain after missing the last 4 regular season games. During that stretch, I think Ed Couch lost 3 of 4. So he's a big spark plug for that team. Scored 3 times on the ground, once in the air. And he and Andrew Segura combined for, I want to say, more than half of the yards that Ed Couch also had. And that was the second most yards that Roma gave up this season, after giving up like 500 and something to Mission veterans in a loss.
I remember seeing Tay Valdez play earlier this season. It was Edinburgh North during it was that weekend when all those games got rained out and lightning out and postponed. But that was the game Marco Aguinaga, their quarterback, got hurt. Tay Valdez stepped in and he played pretty well. I was impressed. And we all picked Roma, as we said, because not only were we impressed with Roma's defense, but we also didn't really trust Ed Couch because you mentioned they lost 3 of 4. That offensive spark really went away. Did you get a chance to talk to Coach Marcellar and just kind of ask him, aside from maybe Tay Valdez coming back, what were just some things that were clicking offensively that weren't working for them?
Well, he said it was more, a lot of coach speak in the sense that he said it was a team game and they played a complete game. I would have kind of read that as a team game in that they have a full team with Tay Valdez, not necessarily full team, but they had 7 players that weren't dressed for this game, so just Tay coming back was a big boost for their offense. And as I saw Ed Couch taking the lead, I kind of figured that didn't bode well for Roma because Roma isn't known as this high-powered offensive team that you would necessarily think could come back from falling behind, and they fell behind. They were behind 28-3 in the first half.
Yeah. And
early in the third, like 30 seconds into the third, they were behind 35-3. And so, in looking at the numbers between the first and second quarters, I figured Roma didn't really fell behind in a big hole just because Ed Couch is number 2 in district in yards, offensive yards and defensive yards, whereas Roma has a middling offense. So I didn't think Roma really had that kind of firepower to try to come back.
In terms of looking ahead here for Ed Couch, they will play Somerset at Shirley Field in Laredo. That game is Friday at 7:30 p.m. $5 if you can name the mascot for Somerset, Mario. I don't even know it. I haven't looked it up. I'll look it up right now. Let me turn my computer so you can't see it.
It's not the Spartans, right?
You gotta guess something. Guess Bulldogs or something. Make a really safe pick.
Bulldogs.
Panthers.
Do you know?
Wildcats.
Do you know? Are you looking?
No, I'm just guessing.
I'm looking right now. You can't look. You have to guess.
I'm guessing Bulldogs.
I guess something with an S. Spartans. Not the Suns. Spartans would be something along those lines.
Okay. Well, Greg, you must read minds because it's Bulldogs.
You should have picked Bulldogs, bro.
They're the Somerset Bulldogs.
It's always Bulldogs.
Somerset, they are 10-1. They are 7-0 in that district, so it looks to be a tough matchup for Ed Couch. But they're going to move on to the area round. And that was probably the one team of 32 5A teams that we thought maybe wasn't going to make it aside from Brownsville Porter.
Well, I actually thought that I was going to ask if I could change last minute. I considered changing to Mercedes Sherlin because I think we tend to pick the more competitive games, which is, I guess, part of the reason why, say if Porter were here against Vela, we probably wouldn't have covered it just because we were all on board with that. Whereas Sherlin Mercedes, I think, was a little closer, where we figured it'd be closer. I mean, it was only 10 points, but I figured that game would be closer. There was a chance that Mercedes could beat Sherland, so I was thinking of switching to that game. But I guess Ed Couch-Elson Roma turned out to be pretty good, even though Roma lost. It was just a good showing by Ed Couch-Elson with tape.
Well, congrats to Ed Couch on the win, and I know that's a disappointing end for Roma's season, but congrats on the season they had. They had some impressive wins along the way, especially that Sherryland game.
8-2 in the regular season.
So, in terms of what Roma's losing in terms of seniors, do you know yet, or?
Well, they bring just about everyone back on defense.
Okay.
Because that defense, they were sophomores last season.
Okay.
I want to say there was 10 maybe, or maybe 9 on defense.
So there's no reason to believe they can't be just as productive next year on that defensive side. So.
And Roma Espinosa is also junior, so senior laden team next season, so they should be even better.
Well, we look forward to that from the Gladiators next season. Again, congrats to the Yellow Jackets. You mentioned that Mercedes-Sherryland game. We didn't have anyone cover that, but it looks like that was a really fun game. Sherryland gets the win over Mercedes, 45-35. Have you had a chance to talk to Coach Adame there at Sherryland, get his view on things? What did he say about that game?
He said Manny Campos killed it. He had like 3 touchdowns on the ground, pass for 2, and they were up by 10 at halftime and just kind of maintained that lead. It was a little bit back and forth, but Sherryland just had the upper hand all throughout. Manny Campos has been at quarterback now for the last maybe 4 games, I want to say. And that's just Coach Ron Adame at Sherryland. He's more of a quarterbacks coach, is my understanding. And so since I've kind of been following the team, they've had at least 2 or 3 quarterbacks that they're comfortable just plugging into any time. And this season's kind of been just the rule. It's been important for them just because if Seth Carter's had an off day, they've plugged in Manny Campos, and he's been really productive whenever he's out there.
For Sherryland, looking ahead for them, they will play Cal Allen, and that will be at Texas A&M Kingsville.
The rematch
Friday at 7:30. What's Cal Allen's logo? I'm sure you guys know. What's their mascot?
It might also be the Bulldogs. Is it?
No, I'm not.
Let me look it up. I'll look it up. Another it's time for another round of Ken Mario. Guess that obscure Texas football mascot.
Well, I'll fill the time.
It's Wildcats. Of course it is.
Why can't these teams get creative?
Like the SaberCats?
Yeah, SaberCats. You don't hear SaberCats very often.
Yeah, but don't capitalize the C. We can do away with that.
That actually had me thinking that the J in Yellow Jackets was capitalized. It just threw me off after that.
Yeah, I always think Yellow Jackets is 2 words, but I always get that confused. There is another game to cover here for at least 31 versus 32 5A. 31 5A worked out better here for them. It was 3-1 in the 4 games. Didn't even mention Bella versus Porter. What was the score on that one?
A lot too little.
Yeah, I forget. Let's look here. Oh my goodness, where is it? I don't see it.
A lot too.
There it is. Edinburgh Vella 48, Brownsville Porter 21. That game pretty much. I don't consider this a playoff game for Vella. I consider it practice for the second round. I know Porter made the playoffs. Congrats to them. I know that was a goal for them, obviously, but that game worked out pretty much the way everyone thought it would. So congrats to Vella on making it to the next round.
If we want to nitpick, and I guess I've kind of done that with Vella a little bit this season because they're the number 2 team ranked in the Valley. I guess part of my concern would be how teams scored a lot of points against them, teams that you figured probably shouldn't. And I remember asking some of the players this when they beat Roma, and they were saying just as long as we get the wins, we get the wins. Like I think they're known kind of for having a good defense, but it isn't show really in points. So I'm a little bit. I think that might come back to bite them as the rounds kind of progress there.
Well, for Vella, this game is yet to be determined in terms of where it's going to be played and when it will be played. But they are scheduled to play Victoria East. We don't know when or where yet. If you want to find out, follow Mario on Twitter. Where can they find you at?
Mario_Aguirre AGUI. Everyone should know, right?
Yeah, everyone should know. Yeah, we're in the Valley.
If
we were in Connecticut or Indianapolis, you'd have to spell it out. But we're in the Valley.
We're solid.
Yeah. So Dennis was at this game. It was Mission Vets versus Dono. This is a game that we were all pretty much split on. I took Dono. Who'd you take? You took Dono too? You took Mission Vets.
Sure
you took Mission Vets. Greg, you took Mission Vets.
Landry Gilpin.
Yeah, I should have taken Landry Gilpin too. I was there at the moment of his ascendancy to the QB position in that Roma game, and I was very impressed.
The mission veteran Gilpins.
I keep waiting for. I kept waiting for the bottom to fall out on Landry Gilpin because he's a freshman. You keep waiting for him to play like a freshman, and that never happened, especially in this game. Landry Gilpin finished with 98 yards passing on 9 of 16 throwing, only with 2 interceptions. Nothing really stands out there, but rushing. He ran for 284 yards, 4 touchdowns on 29 carries. He was just unstoppable for that Donna defense there.
I think we're going to get to a point where we're just used to it just at this point, just because he produces on both ends. And, I want to say I'm surprised because he's a freshman, but then again, he's the coach's son, and I kind of figured that when their dads are coaches, I kind of think that they won't make those freshman or underclassmen mistakes, as you've seen with the players kind of step into that role.
Mission Vets gets the win besides having 3 turnovers. Sedamus 1. Did you talk to Coach Gilpin about this game and what worked for them, or did you just kind of glean what you saw from Dennis's story?
I haven't. I read Dennis's story. I thought it was good. And I like the part where he said that Landry Gilpin was the real deal, because I think he should be the front runner for Newcomer of the Year, which we'll sort that out later.
Later.
And so he's only played, I think this is the 6th game of the season. I think he got Diego Hernandez was still the starting quarterback, the opener, and then he got hurt the next game. So Landry Gilpin filled in. So he's played 6 games now. So even though he's playing 6 games, I mean, his numbers are still up there. He's among the district leaders in passing yards and rushing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And just have
I'm on board the Landry Gilpin bandwagon completely, and I think all of us are. And we mentioned Gilpin before on the last show, along with Zach Gomez and at Mercedes and Richard Lefevre there at Weslecoeast in terms of young quarterbacks for the future here in the Valley.
Can we jump the gun? Sorry.
Can we jump the gun? No, I don't think we're jumping the gun on Gilpin or Gomez. And Lefevre, you kind of have to I don't want to say discount, but you have to kind of take his numbers in context because he's on such a run-heavy team. But the opportunities he's given, he's been very productive for them. So I'm totally on the Richard Lefevre bandwagon. All those young men, those guys are going to be good for some time to come here in the Valley. I look forward to seeing them as they grow up and play there on Friday Night Lights. So anything else from 31-5A you want to talk about? 32-5A or Mission Vets? Who do they play? Mission Vets is going to play Victoria West at Corpus Christi. That'll be at Buck Stadium Friday at 7:30. Victoria West is what? 9-1, 7-1 in district or something like that.
Yeah, just high-powered offense.
Yeah, stout team.
What do you guys think the mascot is?
Victoria West.
I should know all these. I covered these teams.
The mascot for Victoria West. It's like
the Vikings.
Close.
Oh, close to the Vikings? Gladiators.
No, it's Warriors.
Warriors.
You guys were right on it. Hey, but we have a Periscope comment.
What's
Did
the
you guys
Periscope?
know that New Braunfels High is the Unicorns?
Yes, I did. I did know that.
That's awesome.
I was at the state track and field meet earlier this year, back in May, and all their kids on their leotards. It's just, first of all, the colors are blue and white, so it's bright blue leotards, and it says unicorn across the chest. And I didn't know if it was a troll job or what these kids were doing.
Get your horns up. You know what I'm saying?
So I found a coach, and I was like, "Be straight with me. That's not a BS thing. That's a real thing." He's like, "Yeah, we're the unicorns." And I asked him why, and he told me, and I've blanked on it since then. I apologize.
Because it's awesome. What do you mean why?
But no, that was great. That was the standout of covering the state track meet, aside from seeing some of the kids from the Valley get gold, was knowing that there is a school whose mascot is the Unicorns. That's great. My favorite college mascot is the UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs. Those are my favorite.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that was a thing.
They are the Banana Slugs, and their mascot is Sammy the Slug.
I'm
He's a
partial to
big, giant yellow slug.
I'm a big fan of the Raging Cajuns.
For who?
For Louisiana Lafayette.
The Raging Cajuns?
What about the Catamounts?
I think the term Raging Cajun is disrespectful to all Cajuns
Shut
everywhere.
up. And then there's the Anteaters. of
UC
UC Irvine.
Anteaters, that's cool. Well, we got the Red Ants here in Progreso. I think that's cool.
That's
One of
true.
my good friends in
Say it in
school
Spanish. Say it in Spanish.
Hormigas rojas luchadores.
There you go.
There you go. See, it's so
Let's see how the
cool.
lights come out.
It's my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing to say in Spanish is the Fighting Red Ants. How would I say it from Progreso? Hormigas rojas luchadores del Progreso?
Yeah.
Yes, look at me. I'm assimilating.
Yeah.
I'm a white man speaking Spanish.
I think if
Go
you, were
for
to,
me.
if you were to place an order on the phone in Spanish, they would just think, hey, this is the Latino calling.
The proper term is Hispanic serb, JK. Anyways, anything else in 31-5A, 32-5A?
No, I just I don't even know what to make of this second round. I had Vela penciled in for a win. Sherryland, I know last year Cal Allen expected to beat Sherryland last season and lost 28-0. And Coach Donahue, who's one of the winningest coaches in Texas history, or might be the winningest coach in Texas history, he was stunned after the game and kind of didn't give Sherryland their props, which I hope kind of makes for an even better matchup, just as kind of bulletin board material, because he didn't really credit Sherlin after that win, and they got shut out. It was, I think, the first time he had ever been shut out or shut out that year. Or no, it was the first time he got shut out in the postseason, and he'd been around like 30 years, and Sherlin beat him 28-0. So that was a great moment.
That will be something to watch. Now, this Sherlin team isn't quite as good as last year's, so we'll see what happens, though. Anything else from this? Oh, we should note, in terms of some small schools here, Yoakum beat Rio Hondo 28-0. Congrats to the Bobcats on their season, nonetheless.
We had a Yoakum fan on here.
Lyford lost to Goliad 29-22. Lyford, they're the Bulldogs, right?
Yeah, of course.
Congrats to the Bulldogs. Lavia Cardinals, they lose to Refugio 54-0. But again, congrats on making it to the playoffs. They weren't even supposed to make it, were they not?
It was a toss-up. If you asked me 2 days, I would have said no because they brought in their coach in May. He said hello to everyone, and they didn't see him again until the start of 2 days. And so, I guess just because he couldn't really run practices, so I guess they saw him for strength and conditioning. But it's their first postseason berth since Luper Marone left, which is just a year layoff. But I mean, that's 4 out of 5 teams in that district make the playoffs.
Yeah, still, props to them. Also, should mention this game was on Friday. Gruya, the Gators lose to Gonzales. The best high school in Texas is no more for their football season, 26-21.
Is Gonzales the Bulldogs also, or what?
I have no idea. I hope it's like, I wish high schools, if they had the chance, they could just do something that was like alliterative, like Gruya Gators. I like that. What if it was, what's Gonzales? I'll guess.
No, but you know what it is here though. Here, the school district picks a theme and just kind of sticks.
Yeah,
right
like La Jolla's all dogs,
with the
Edinburgh's all cats.
The
Weslaco's cats. Sherlin's snakes.
Gonzales is the Apaches.
Okay.
That's not racist. That's not racist
Let's
at all.
move on.
That's not racist at all. I hope they lose the next round.
Brownsville doesn't have a theme. They have the Chargers, the Golden Eagles, the Vikings. Yeah, they're all over.
Which is fine. And also in terms of TAPS, Brownsville St. Joseph Academy.
Got a side eye for Greg.
Brownsville St. Joseph Academy, 42-49. They lose to Midland Christian. So sorry to Kai.
Called
Money.
it.
Sorry to Kai Money and all. What were the
Bloodhounds?
Bloodhounds. Props to Kai Money and the rest of the Bloodhounds team out there. I know they had a very strong season, but nonetheless, not the way they wanted things to go. But
hey, don't forget LaFeria beat Beeville Jones.
Oh yeah, LaFeria beat Beeville. Yeah,
That's not Brownsville.
67-31.
67-31. Props to the Lions. Good for them.
So that's a pretty good team, it seems.
Yeah,
I don't know much about
LaFeria
them
seems
at all,
pretty
but
strong. Props to
They
them.
only have 2 losses this year, I think.
Anything else we want to talk about? Are we good to go?
PI? Did we cover PI?
Port Isabel lost to Cuero.
Yeah.
It was like
Was that an upset? Because I think some people were surprised.
we all
picked Twitter.
picked Cuero.
Okay.
I forget why I picked Cuero. Probably just because it's a non-valley team versus
I
a
picked him
valley
because
team.
Coach Bill Littleton.
Oh yeah, Bill Littleton.
And Cuero is the Gobblers, so that's another
The
good reason.
Cuero Gobblers.
That's another good reason.
That is
to pick
offensive
him
to
for
all
this.
gobblers everywhere.
Oh, what a hater.
I'm not a hater.
What about the Chargers?
By Mario's trusty Max Preps ranks, this would have
85%?
not been an upset, no.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else,
I don't
folks?
know
or
if we
good
missed
to go?
anybody else. I don't think so.
I think we got everybody else. So
Going back for the preview.
congrats to, by my count, we've got LaFeria, that's 1, Memorial, Weslaco, Mission Vets, Ed Couch, Sherryland, Weslaco East, Edinburgh Vela. We got 9 Valley teams left.
Does that have all of them?
Plus
Thursday,
Harlingen.
Thursday and Saturday?
Plus Harlingen. Yeah, that's got all.
There's got to be more 32 6As, right? No, I guess y'all.
No.
I guess
West
y'all beat their
Fresno,
pants
Brownsville,
off.
San Benito, it's 10.
There you go.
That's 10. So we got 10 Valley teams left. That's it. So
Do you want to come back and talk Mission Juan Diego winning
No.
state?
No. They won state. That's the extent
Yeah.
of what happened. Good for them.
Yeah, Mission Vets. Mission Vets. Mission Juan Diego Academy. Juan Diego Academy. Volleyball won the state tournament, I should say. Excuse me.
TAPS 1A.
And
Taps
then
won
McCown Memorial and McCown Rowe put up impressive fights in the regional semifinals, but lost.
Yep.
Rowe was the closest, right?
Well, Memorial went 5 games, but
Yeah.
some of those games were lopsided, and Rowe, every game they lost by 2 points, but they lost all 3.
Which loss would you rather have? 5, but back and forth, or 3 tight ones?
Probably 5. But yeah, that's a tough call.
What for you, in terms of you, boys basketball starts Tuesday. You've got a preview coming out. It comes out Monday.
We don't want to give away the team, but it's coming Monday.
Won't give away the team, but
It won't be a shock to anyone.
you'll have a team. You'll have a feature on a team/player. You'll also have your preseason top 10, and you will also have 5 other Valley players to watch. Basketball season's here. It's my favorite sport. Can't wait. In terms of girls basketball, they just wrapped up their first week. Props to PSJ North. They won the La Jolla tournament. They beat Rio Hondo. As I said earlier, Weslaco High got the win over Sherryland. Weslaco looks really impressive despite losing 6 seniors, including Angela Villarreal. And Harlingen High, from what I understand, won the McAllen High tournament, the McAllen High round robin. The next big tournament for them is Border Bash. That's next week. That's the big 54 team tournament they got there for all the McAllen schools. So it's already basketball season. Oh,
that's a lot of schools.
Yep, a lot of schools. Well, they get some San Antonio schools to come down too.
Where do they host it, or
like a bunch of middle schools, Mac High, I think.
It would make sense in McAllen just because they're the bigger.
Yeah, I think it's throughout all of Mac High ISD. Also, there was swimming that happened over in Brownsville. McAllen High boys won and Roma girls won. So
Roma girl, I didn't know Roma was.
Dude, Jocelyn Martinez, better recognized.
Yeah,
she's the best, in my opinion. She's the best swimmer in the valley, male or female. She's fantastic, so good. She's from Monterrey, Mexico.
I'm in Roma football mode. Their boys basketball team, they didn't make the playoffs. That's a tough.
Girls team's going to be a little young for Roma. They lost a couple seniors, but track and field might be okay. We'll figure it out. Either way,
Roma's a good volleyball team.
Either way,
last year they did.
Either way, we got a show. We appreciate it, folks. Thank you so much for checking out this on the podcast or the Periscope and or YouTube. We have a website, RGVSports.com. You can find stories from the Monitor, Valley Morning Star, and Brownsville Herald, all in there. Whatever suits your fancy, it's probably there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at John Fillet.
Mario _Aguirre.
At Greg Luca.
And we are on Facebook, RGVSports.com, Twitter at RGVSports, and we'll be back next week getting ready for the area round, folks. Thank you so much. Be safe until next time, and we'll see you then. Thank you.
For the Periscope question, this show will continue into basketball season, and I think I'll be hosting with these two guys.
Yeah, Greg will be the host. I cover girls basketball. He's got boys basketball. Greg will be hosting, and then we'll just kind of do that.
And there was a question about what Trevor Spates does on defense. He plays safety, where he can kind of just roam around and do whatever, and he made 9 tackles in this game.
9 tackles?
Yeah.
My God.
He's good. He didn't even play like the first half.
Dude's good.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
If what?
Like, if you were that good in high school, would you take on all these other roles?
If your season depended on it.
Do you think he does it out of necessity, or just the kind of...
Well, he didn't start on defense, and then when the game went south, let's say, they brought him in because they just needed whatever they could to try to scratch and claw their way to a win in this one.
Was the back
He started returning punts and kicks and stuff, too, which he doesn't normally do.
When Memorial played Mac High, was that the first time he played defense?
That was the first time he had really played significant snaps on defense, because they really needed an answer from McGowan.
I really liked the quote in the paper, just on how the air quotes.
Oh yeah, I wish that could.
That should have been a pull quote.
I wish there was a way to write that better, like when a guy uses air quotes.
Yeah, you could picture it.
Right,
Just
right. But yeah, no, that was great. That's the quote of the year so far.
What was your reaction to that? Did you smile?
Well, because he totally no-sold it in the week leading up when I went there and asked him about.
Do you think he was annoyed though? But maybe that was it.
If he wanted to. Well, he just acted like he didn't know who the kid was. He's like, who? Like, McGowan what? Like, so then after the game when he's like, yeah, I just shut down the best back in the valley or did the whole thing, I was like, so you were onto it. Okay.
Well, he's probably on RGVSports.com and saw just all the hype around McGowan.
No, I think he gets a ton of stuff tweeted at him. I would doubt he's ever, had to go looking for any of that mess.